So now we will see grid layout in CSS. So guys, basically the CSS Grid Layout Module offers a grid based layout system with the help of rows and columns, which makes it very easy to design the web pages without having to use the float and the position CSS properties that we had seen previously. So guys, we will check with the help of examples how you can easily design the web pages with the help of the grid layout using CSS. So guys, first of all, we will understand the concepts of rows and columns in the grid layout in CSS. So over here on the browser, let us move to the sketchpad first of all. So guys, what is the meaning of grid layout in CSS? So basically we have the concept of rows and columns as far as the grid layout is concerned. So basically the horizontal lines, as you can see, this is one row over here, and then we have the second row in this case. So this is the second row that we have included, and so on. There can be multiple rows in the grid layout over here. So guys, let us label these rows in this case. So let me add the text over here. So basically we have row 1 over here. So basically this is row 1, and then guys, similarly we have row 2 and row 3 as well. So these are the three rows that we have included in our grid layout. Now guys, similarly we have the columns as well that can be defined as far as the grid layout is concerned. So basically the vertical lines that are going from top to bottom, these are the columns that can be defined inside the grid layout. So let us have three columns over here. So as you can see, these are the column 1, 2 and then 3 respectively. So guys, basically the grid items are aligned in such a way that they will be present in the row and the column format over here. And then guys, we also have some more properties such as column gap. So over here you can see that there is a gap over here in this case. So this is nothing but it is a column gap that we can define with the help of CSS properties that we are going to see. And also there is a gap between the row over here, between row 1 and row 2, and then between row 2 and row 3. So guys, these are nothing but the row gaps and the column gaps that we are going to define. By default there will be no gaps between the rows and columns, but we can include them with the help of CSS properties. So guys, this is the basic understanding as far as the grid layout in the CSS is concerned. So guys, let us check some of the examples now. Basically we can define the container as a grid layout with the help of the display CSS property. So guys, let us move to the VS Code over here, and simply we are going to define the div tag with the class container, and inside this container we are going to have multiple grid items. So guys, let us say we have the div tag with the class item over here, and the first item is having the number 1. So guys, similarly we are going to have multiple items in this case. So guys, as you can see, we have the div tags with the numbers from 1 to 9. Let me just save this file now and try reloading this page on the browser to see how it looks like. So as you can see, these are nothing but the div tags that are getting displayed from 1 to 9, and since by default the div tags are having the display equal to block, that is why all the numbers are getting displayed on the new line over here. Guys, let us provide certain CSS properties now in order to make a grid layout out of this container over here. So guys, basically we have this class container in this case, and then what we will say is display it is equal to grid this time, so that we can make a grid layout out of it. Now guys, apart from this, we will also have certain background color so that we can identify the background of the container as well as the items over here. And then we will also have certain padding that we can provide. So padding is equal to 20 pixels in this case. Let me just save this file now and try reloading this page once again on the browser. So as you can see, we have the background color for the grid container over here. Now guys, by default the grid layout is having just one column over here. Let us provide certain CSS properties to this div tags as well, which is present inside the container. So over here we will provide container class, and then followed by the space character, and then followed by the div tag, which means whatever div tags are present inside the container will have these CSS properties that we are going to define. So guys, first of all, let us have certain background color over here. So let's say we provide the background color of yellow in this case, and also we will provide the padding of 10 pixels over here. Let me just save this file now and try reloading this page once again on the browser. So as you can see, we have the yellow background color for all the div tags inside this container grid layout, and all the div tags currently are displayed on the new lines over here. Now guys, let us say we want to arrange all these items into 3 rows and 3 columns, just like how we have designed the layout over here. So what we can do is, inside the container class in this case, we have the CSS property that is grid template columns, and then guys, inside this grid template columns CSS property, we can define how many number of columns we want inside our grid layout. So guys, by default it is just having one column over here, and we are supposed to provide the width of all the columns which are separated by the space character. So guys, let's say we want the width to be set automatically by the browser, so simply we can provide the auto keyword. Now this means only one column will be present. So let me just save this file now to show how it looks like and reload this page on the browser. As you can see, there is no change right now. That's because we are telling the grid layout to have only one column over here. In order to have multiple columns, we need to provide the space character and provide the second parameter as well. You can provide any width in terms of pixels or any other length measurement over here. We are setting it as auto in this case. So basically this is the 2-column grid layout, since we have provided auto keyword twice over here. Let me just save this file now and try reloading this page once again on the browser. So now if you can see, the first div element that is having 1 is displayed over here, and then we have this second column in this case. Now guys, in order to identify these 2 columns over here, let us provide certain column gap. Like we have seen in our design, these are nothing but the column gaps in between the columns. So how we can do that? So again, over here we can provide the column gap CSS property. So as you can see, this is the column gap CSS property, and let's say we want to provide the gap of 20 pixels over here. Let me just save this file now and try reloading this page once again on the browser. So as you can see, we have provided the column gap of 20 pixels in this case, and that is helping us in order to segregate the columns over here. Similarly, we can divide the rows as well. So in this case, we can also provide the row gap CSS property. So this is the property that we can use, and we can provide 20 pixels over here. So let me just save this file now and try reloading this page. So as you can see, in between the rows we are getting the gaps over here, and this is how we can create the grid layout and also provide the column gap and the row gap over here. Now guys, apart from this, if you want to increase the number of columns, then what you have to do is simply inside the grid template columns, you can provide the third parameter, which means another column will be added over here and the existing data will be adjusted accordingly. So let me just save this file now and try reloading this page once again on the browser. So as you can see, now we are having the 3 columns and the 3 rows grid layout over here as per our requirement, and this is the same design that we had drawn over here on the sketch pad. So guys, in this way you can have the grid layout with the help of the display equal to grid, and then using the grid template columns CSS property, and also providing the column gap and the row gap over here. Now guys, we can also provide certain other properties. Let's say if we want to center this text inside the div element, that is the child element inside the container. So what we can do is simply we can provide the text align, it is equal to center over here. Let me just reload this page. So as you can see, all the text are now aligned at the center of the div tag. We can also have the 4th column over here. So what we will do is, let's say we want the 4th column to be small. Let's say we want the width of the 4th column to be 20 pixels over here. So simply after the space character, instead of providing the auto keyword, we will provide the 20 pixels as the width of the 4th column over here. Let me just save this file now and try reloading this page once again on the browser. So as you can see, the 4th column is now added, and it is only having 20 pixels as the width of that particular column, and the other columns are taking the remaining space automatically. That's because we have provided the auto keyword over here. Let's say we want the second column to have the width of 100 pixels. So simply instead of having the auto keyword, we will provide the length as 100 pixels over here. Let me increase the width of 4th column to 40 pixels as well, since it is very small right now. And now when we reload the page, as you can see, now this is 100 pixels wide, and then this is 40 pixels wide over here, and the first and the third column are automatically taking the width as per the keyword that we have provided inside the grid template columns over here. So guys, in this way you can define the different CSS properties as far as grid layout is concerned. So far we have seen how we can use the grid value for the display CSS property. We have also seen how we can define the grid layout with the help of grid template columns, which will define the number of columns over here. And then apart from this, we have also seen the column gap and the row gap in this case. Now guys, there is a shorthand method that you can use for the column gap and the row gap over here. So instead of having 20 pixels for both the CSS properties, simply you can provide the gap CSS property over here. So guys, first of all, you need to provide the row gap in this case. So let's say we provide 20 pixels as the row gap, and this time let us say we want to increase the column gap, so we provide 30 pixels as column gap. So guys, first of all, the first parameter that is taken by the gap CSS property is the row gap over here, and the second parameter is the column gap. Let me just save this file now and try reloading this page. You will notice that the row gap will be same, but the column gap will be increased now. So when we reload this page, as you can see, this column gap is 30 pixels wide and the row gap is 20 pixels wide over here. So guys, you can provide the required gap between the items of the grid layout as per your requirements. Apart from this, let us now understand what is the meaning of the grid lines. Now guys, since we have provided all these elements inside the grid layout, all these div tags are called as the grid items over here. And then guys, on the extreme left, there is a grid line in this case. So if I show you back again in the sketch pad, so before this column 1, there is a virtual vertical line over here, which is line 1 in this case. And then between column 1 and column 2, there is a second line over here. And then we have the third line in this case. And then there is a fourth line over here. Similarly, we have the lines for the rows as well. So over here, we have the virtual line before row 1, and then between row 1 and row 2 we have the second line, and so on. There are lines in this case that we can use over here. Now guys, how we can use these lines, I will show you with the help of the other CSS properties over here. So basically we have something called as grid column start and then grid column end. So guys, let's say as per your requirement over here on the user interface, you want the first number to occupy 2 columns over here. So guys, currently it is occupying just 1 column, that is the first column in this case. But let's say if you want to increase the width in such a way that it should occupy 2 columns over here, that is first column and second column. So we can simply use the grid column start and grid column end CSS properties. So guys, let us check that as well. So over here, what we will do is, for the first element over here, we will provide the ID, that is 1 in this case, and we are going to use this ID in the style.css file. So over here we will define the ID, that is 1, with the help of the hash character, and then we are going to use the grid column start over here. So guys, basically we have the grid column start and it should start from the first line over here. So guys, this is the significance of understanding the grid lines. Basically this item should start from the grid line 1 over here and it should end in this case after the second column, which means the grid line 2 is present over here between the column 1 and column 2, and the grid line 3 is present over here between column 2 and column 3. So we are supposed to provide the numbers from 1 up to 3 over here. So basically the grid column start will start from the number 1 and the grid column end should have the value of 3 over here, so that the first item should occupy the space between the column 1 and column 2 in this case. So guys, when we provide the end as 3, let me just save this file now and try reloading this page once again on the browser. You will notice that now the first element is taking the span of 2 columns, that is the first column and the second column, and the other div elements are adjusted accordingly and all of them are taking just 1 column. So guys, this is the way you can use the grid column start and grid column end CSS property in order to make the HTML element occupy multiple number of columns over here. We also have the shorthand method for this. So simply we can have the grid column in this case. So guys, let's say we provide grid column CSS property, and over here we provide the column start as 1 and then followed by the forward slash, and then simply we can provide the grid column end parameter value, that is 3 over here. Let me just save this file now and try reloading this page once again on the browser. As you can see, it is now taking the space of 2 columns, that is first and second. Now guys, let us say we want to increase the width up to 3 columns over here. So simply we need to provide the grid line number 4 over here. Let me just save this file now and try reloading this page once again on the browser. So as you can see, the first element is now taking the space of 3 columns, that is first, second and third, by using the grid line numbers from 1 up to 4 over here. So guys, this is the second line, and then we have the third vertical line followed by the fourth vertical line. Apart from this, instead of providing the line numbers for the grid column CSS property, you can also provide the span keyword, and then we can number the number of columns to be used in order to make the div element occupy those many number of columns. So guys, when we provide the span, so let's say we want this particular item to occupy only 2 columns over here. So simply we provide span keyword followed by 2 columns in this case. Let me just save this file now and try reloading this page once again on the browser. So as you can see, the first element is now occupying the space of 2 columns over here. So guys, similarly you can use the grid row start and grid row end as well, and apart from that you can also use the grid row CSS property as the shorthand method. So guys, let us check that as well. Let's say if you want the first column to have the 2 number of rows over here, which means it will occupy 2 rows in this case. So what we can do is simply we can provide the grid row over here. So this is the CSS property that we are providing, and then it is going from the first grid line up to second and then the third grid line in this case. So guys, simply we can provide 1 followed by forward slash and then 3 over here, so that it takes 2 number of rows as far as the first element is concerned. Let me just save this file now and try reloading this page once again on the browser. As you can see, now it is taking 2 number of rows as far as the vertical spacing is concerned. We can also provide the span keyword over here, but this time we have to provide the number 2 instead of 3 since we are providing the span keyword. Let me just save this file now and try reloading this page. As you can see, it is taking 2 rows over here. If you want it to occupy 3 rows, so simply we can provide span 3 in this case. Let me just reload this page. As you can see, now it is taking the 3 rows as far as the vertical spacing is concerned. So guys, in this way you can easily use the grid column or the grid row CSS properties based on your project requirement. So guys, apart from this, we also have some other properties, that is justify content over here. So similar to how we have seen in the flex layout model, the justify content will help us in order to align the items as far as horizontal alignment is concerned. So guys, let us check justify content with the help of example over here. So inside the container class, what we will do is, let's say we have the justify content CSS property over here, and we want all the elements to be present at the center of the container. So simply we can provide the center value over here. Let me just save this file now and try reloading this page once again on the browser. As you can see, all the elements are now at the center of the container, which is having the background color that is aqua. So guys, in this way you can simply use the justify content as well. If you want a certain space to be in between all the elements as far as horizontal alignment is concerned, you can provide the space between value as well. So let me just save this file now and try reloading this page. So as you can see, in between all the elements there are equal spaces, and then we have other values as well. We can also provide space evenly over here. So as you can see, there's even spaces on the left and the right of all the div elements as far as horizontal spacing is concerned. Apart from this, we also have the vertical spacing that you can use based on the align content CSS property. So let us check that as well. So when we provide align content CSS property, let's say we want all the elements to be at the center as far as vertical alignment is concerned. So we provide the center value. Let me just reload this page once again on the browser. So all the elements are currently at the center as far as vertical alignment is concerned. We can provide some other values as well. So let's say we provide the start value and reload this page. So as you can see, there is no change right now. So what we will do is, let us increase the height of this div container over here. So simply we will provide the height value, and then let's say we provide 300 pixels as the value of the container height. So as you can see, the height has been increased now, and since we have provided align content at the start, all the div tags are at the start as far as the vertical alignment is concerned, which means they are at the top of the container. Let's say we want them to be at the center of the container, so simply we can provide the center value. Let me just reload this page. As you can see, now the div elements are present at the center of this div container, as far as the vertical alignment is concerned, and let us get them all at the end of the container, which means at the bottom of the container. So when we reload this page, as you can see, all of them are at the bottom, which means they are aligned at the bottom of this particular container tag. So guys, in this way you can simply use the justify content and the align content over here in order to align the items inside the grid layout. Now guys, apart from this, we have something called as grid area as well, which is a shorthand method in order to use the grid row and the grid column over here. So guys, let us check the example of this as well. So what we will do is simply I'm going to remove the grid row and the grid column that we had used previously for the first div tag over here. Let me just reload this page once again on the browser. Also, we will remove the height of the container over here. So as you can see, this is the container which is having the div tags inside the grid layout. And then guys, apart from this, we will also make the width of all the columns as auto in this case. So let me just remove this 100 pixels and make it as auto over here, and also the 40 pixels as auto in this case, so that all the columns are now having the equal width over here. Now guys, apart from this, we will also remove the justify and the align content in this case, so that all the div tags take up the available space on the left and the right as well. So as you can see, this is a simple grid layout inside the container. Now guys, by using the grid area, we can define the grid row and the grid column start and the end CSS property. So guys, let us check that as well. So what we will do is, for the first element, let us say we want this element to have 2 number of rows and 2 number of columns. So basically this much area must be occupied by the first row. So simply we can provide the grid area shorthand CSS property over here, and the first value that is expected inside the grid area is the grid start row. So in this case, we have the start row as 1 and then followed by the /, and then it is expecting the grid column start, which is again the first column over here. So again we provide 1 over here. Apart from this, we have the / character, and then it is expecting the grid row end, which means it should end at the third line over here as far as the row line is concerned. So this is the first line, second line, and then this is the third line over here. So simply we can provide 3 in this case, followed by the /, and then we can provide the column line as well, which is, in this case, we want the first element to be over here. So basically this is first, second, and the third line as far as the column line is concerned. So we have the grid column end as well. Let me just save this file now and try reloading this page once again on the browser. So as you can see, the first element is now taking the space of 2 rows and 2 columns respectively. So guys, in this way you can easily use the grid area as well. Now guys, apart from this, this grid area will be useful in order to order the elements also. So basically, let's say we want this 5th column to be present at this particular position where the element 2 is present. So what we can do is, first of all, for the element 5, we are going to define the ID, that is 5 over here. So simply we have defined the ID of 5, and then what we will do is simply we will provide # character and then the ID, that is 5 over here, and we are supposed to define the grid area in this case, so that we can order the elements inside the grid layout. So guys, it is not necessary that whatever sequence that you have provided inside the HTML elements, with that same sequence all the items must be displayed, but you can order them based on your project requirements over here. So we want this particular 5th element to be present at this 2nd position with the help of the CSS property, that is grid area in this case. So guys, what we have to do is we need to identify the row line and the column line for this particular position. So the row line is starting from the 1 and it is ending at 2 over here. So let us define that first of all. So we start from the row line, that is 1 over here, and then we have to end it at 2nd row line in this case. And then guys, we also have to provide the column start and the column end. So this is column line 1 and then followed by column line 2 over here, and then we have 3 in this case. So we should start from the column line 3 and then end to the column line 4 over here. So when we say 3, that is the column start, and then followed by 4 as the 4th parameter over here. So guys, this is the grid area that we have defined. So using this, we can get the 5th element at this particular position, since we have provided the grid area CSS property. So let me just save this file now and try reloading this page once again on the browser. As you can see, this 5th element is now getting displayed at this position, and then all the elements have adjusted accordingly based on the grid layout. So guys, in this way you can easily use the grid area CSS property as well, so that you can order the HTML elements based on your project requirements inside the grid layout. So guys, these are some of the CSS properties that you can use as far as the grid layout in CSS is concerned. Comment in the comment section below whether you have learned something out of this video. Please make sure that you like this video so that it reaches to more people, and subscribe to the channel so that you get the notifications on upcoming videos as well. The next video that we are going to talk about is an exercise on grid layout in CSS in order to make the sidebar and the content. So stay tuned.